I bet all of you want to hear what I have to say about that Cardfight Vanguard V Series, at least the Aichi stuff, is ending very soon, and we will be getting a Shin prequel as the new Vanguard series, as well as Genesis being Shin's main deck, apparently, and with the first ever Grade 5 and a new zone to play with. And, I'm sorry, but I won't be covering that in this video, and the reason for that is, well, there's two reasons. The first is I haven't been around for the past few days, so I wasn't able to give this thing a proper video when it was announced, but the other reason is that I have no idea how to process any of this information. Like, I really don't. Like, I can kind of get my head around the Genesis Grade 5 thing. I haven't really read it, but I'm sure I could try and give a quick analysis on that. But as far as the concept of a Shin prequel, at first glance, most people probably think this is stupid, or they're a little bit interested. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is, based on what it kind of looks like this show is going to be about, we are potentially going into very strange, turbulent territory for a card game anime. And I know some of you think that sounds crazy. I know some of you are thinking, it's just a Shin prequel. What could really happen? Well, between the sort of stuff that's been leaked or revealed to us, this is potentially a very complex story, and if pulled off, could be absolutely fucking fantastic, or it could crash and burn. And I feel like I have no real way which I believe it will go. So I feel like I should give this subject its own video. Let me know in the comments if you would like that, because if you don't, I totally understand. It's not like we won't be talking about this anime when it comes out. But let me know about that below if you're interested in hearing my not complete, all over the place thoughts, because it's probably just going to be that till the show comes out. But anyways, that's for the future. First and foremost, we gotta talk about the fact that this week was the Rival Clash. One of the most staple, popular aspects of shonen's card game anime, just action in general. The idea of two characters at odds because of goals, because of the desire for victory, because of conflicting ideologies. Two, having the big epic conclusion. It's so primal and it gets your chest beaten. It's freaking amazing. This episode was not that. This episode was not that at all. What this episode was Kai's resolution to his story arc. And now that we know that the Shin prequel is coming, and I think they very consciously wanted that out this week, because they wanted you to feel that idea that this is Kai's resolution. This is his arc coming to an end, and we can move on to something else. And in that respect, I thought it was pretty good. Like, just everything with Kai in this episode and this season has been really interesting, and it all came to a head in a way that wasn't as traditional as you would assume it would be. So the big thing about this episode is that Kai has gone AWOL for the first 15 minutes, and then comes back to fight Aichi. This means that the entire fight is relegated to the second half, but what we get in the first half is what was really interesting, and it's this idea that Miwa and, Ibuki kind of also got to resolve their arcs as well. But essentially what it comes down to is that Kai still doesn't believe he's fully right. He doesn't really believe he's 100% back, and he needs to go up against his greatest rival to face that. Pretty standard, right? Well, kind of an interesting aspect to this episode is that Kai's already back to being almost unbeatable, but it's not enough for him because Kai defines himself by Vanguard. He defines himself by his ability to win, to adapt to new challenges, to face new and stronger opponents. And what this episode sort of says is he can be more than that. He doesn't just need to be the guy who sacks with Kagero. He can be just a guy. He can be someone with friends because Miwa and Ibuki, yeah, they're kind of trying to find him in time for his fight, but above all else, these are two people who care about Kai's well-being. Aichi does as well, but because his relationship with Aichi is still based around being better than him at Vanguard, it doesn't really go into play. But, like, when the two go after him and they find Kai, there's a reason why in the park, Kai is the one who ultimately confirms, no, that was a pig. The reason that's important is because it shows that Kai has always been this complicated swirl of emotions, and in having his Vanguard removed and having to slowly regain it, he's kind of gained something else along the way. By joining the, what's it called, Hitsue? By joining the Hitsue High School and bringing more people into his life as he tries to get this thing he lost back, he's sort of kind of gotten people who give a crap, not just about him with Vanguard, but everyone is worried where'd he go. And it's sort of a nice, beautiful moment, because this is a character who has always been so against socializing and having friends and having people around you, and now he kind of wound up with a lot of them. I just like the whole sort of thing going on here. When Kai smiles with everybody, it feels earned. Like, you really believe Miwa is kind of the friend who has to sort of also take care of Kai. That's why it's important that Kai wasn't off having a big speech in his head or something about why he can't fight or whatever. It's literally just he just lost track of time. Now, you can make the argument, yeah, he lost track of time because he's still so confident he needed that time to work on his deck, but just that idea that someone came for him, because someone ultimately will come for him when the time is ready. No one turned come for him into a joke, I swear. I worked really hard on this metaphor. So, yeah, that was great. Then we move on to the card fight, and this was a good example of, yeah, you kind of can't show everything because of time reasons, but you still work in a lot. Like, when we actually got into the meat of things, when the grade 3s were fighting, I really just love the back and forth of everything. Like, I got a damage trigger. This changes the way we do the fight. I drew this card. This changes the way we do the fight. Overlord has 3 attacks. Gancelot, all this stuff. There was a lot of complex aspects to Vanguard. How triggers change the way you play, how guarding can sometimes fail. All of that is very important. And seeing Aichi get that 2 heal trigger, like the double clutch, is like, it kind of hurt to watch. But what's sort of important, again, it brings it back to their original fight, and that was Aichi got the 6 damage heal after Kai pushed through with a crit. So that's kind of a nice little callback to that. But it is a good fight. We then get, let's talk about the Morikawa stuff. I kept remembering where do I put that into this? So the Morikawa stuff in this is great. Morikawa, to me, as a character, was probably the most underutilized in the original series, in as much as he was loud, he was unpleasant, he wasn't likable or charming or endearing at all. But we kind of sat through it because we all assumed, or at least a lot of people assumed, he'd be important later. He'd have that moment where he proved why he's Aichi's friend and why he's there and all that stuff, and they never did it. So to see it actually be in this is A, interesting, B, ironic, because it's the show where he has less screen time, but also it's important that it's the scene that happened, that he is trying to be a good leader, and also the idea that he's like, let's just give up and let's put our weakest guy against Daichi, just get him out of the way. That was pretty funny to watch. But also, like, he's trying to do what's best for the team, but he also has his own pride, and all of that stuff is stuff characters do, not screaming like a jackass like he did in the original. And I like the bit that he's the one who brings Kai back at the end. He's the one who tells Kai, don't give up, man, believe in yourself to the end. And he makes Kai realize, I have more people in my life now. I have friends. I have people to be around and people who will be there when I lose. It's not just everything is defined by the card fight. So when Kai goes back to his team and they all smile together, just like when he laughed with his 2 older friends, it felt earned and it felt warranted. It's that idea that he spent the whole time trying to get back who he was. He unknowingly wound up on a new path to who he can become. I know that's corny and sounds like fortune cookie logic, but shut up, I try hard at this, damn it. So yeah, that was this week. Very good, very different from what you expected, even if the result was pretty obvious ultimately. But all in all, next week is where this shit is at. Aichi versus Ren. Always a big deal. Tell me if you're excited for that. Tell me about this card fight, this episode, Kai in general, I guess. And as for the Vanguard question of the week, I thought about it a lot this episode because of what a lot of my play testing yesterday turned into. Which is better for Royal Paladin and Kagero? Force 1 so that way you can get bigger columns, or Force 2 so you can get the extra crits? Because I'm hearing a lot of arguments just in the Vanguard community about both. So tell me that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me for much more Vanguard, Shin-based or not.